Whether you're conquering professional exams or personal milestones, we welcome you to Beyond Clean's Confidence Certification, the 52-week test prep podcast series. With expert insights, actionable tips, and engaging discussions, we'll break down the toughest concepts in sterile processing and build your confidence every step of the way. Join host Sarah B. Cruz as she embarks on a mission to help you not just prep for tests, but craft your success story. And now your host, Sarah B. Cruz.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Confidence Certification, a 52-week test prep podcast series to equip you to take your sterile processing career to the next level. I'm your host, Sarah B. Cruz, and on this episode, we are going to be discussing the power of percentages. Hello and welcome back. We are doing what we do best, studying and preparing for our tests. We are the 1% in this journey. No, I hope 100% of the industry is hanging out with me. That would be so great. But even if it's less than that, you're here. We're hanging out. We're getting ready for our tests, and that's a percent that I can get down with. Yeah. Can you believe that we're already at episode 38? If you've been with us every week or you're binging all the episodes like the real MVP that you are, that means that you've spent a certain percent of your day dedicating to your test prep. And you've been sharing it with me. So speaking of percentages, we are going to look more closely at test percentages and how they can help you focus on what and how you study. I am not talking about the 70% or higher you need to get in order to pass your test, right? But the percentages used to define the test contents that are provided by the accrediting bodies that created these tests. This is also one of my students' favorite classes that I teach during the sterile processing program at the local community college. Honestly, this topic, the test facility, the test platform breakdown, which we just went over a few episodes, and the resume and cover letter creating always receive the highest ratings when I send out my post-course review. So I figured I would bring them to the podcast today. And I still can't imagine why people don't like the sterilization process more than the resume and cover letter, but we can't help them with that. Yeah. With that being said, I experience many conflicting opinions about this topic with my colleagues. Many believe that this is just teaching people how to pass a test, which technically doesn't promote active learning, critical thinking, or comprehension. Now, we've talked about active learning and critical thinking and comprehension in multiple episodes leading up to this. We specifically spoke to comprehension with a special guest. I'm always discussing what active learning is and right in the first few episodes of the show, just so everybody could get on board. Remember, there's no tips and tricks here. We're just going to make sure you have the skills that you need, the tools in your belt, dare I say, to do what you need to do to pass your test. Okay, so when my colleagues say that, it's pretty harsh, right? But it's cool because one of my professional specialties is creating a space for people to voice and share their opinions. I welcome it because it helps our industry grow. Now, my other professional specialty is providing alternative schools of thoughts, leveraging realities, and raising awareness to limiting beliefs. That is just a nice way to say that I will debate you on it because I disagree. No, so there's your professional talk for saying, fight me. No, I'm just kidding. I will debate with you on a topic that I strongly disagree about. And because of this, I went back and forth with deciding on dedicating an episode to understanding how to use the percentage breakdown to your advantage. Obviously, I am going to go for it because I think it's a valuable tool. Part of preparing for a test and studying effectively is knowing what to study more of and where to spend more time to understand larger, more comprehensive processes and concepts. Now, I don't speak for either of the accrediting bodies when I say that there is a reason they must make this percentage breakdown of their test and list it publicly and make it available upon registration for their exams. So we're going to incorporate this knowledge into our test prep because it's the smart, savvy, and frankly logical thing to do. So let's let that settle in as we go to commercial break, and be sure to stick around because I will be going over this apparently taboo topic when we get back. It's time for our mid-episode confidence boost, where we focus on a key sterile processing test concept. Now, there's no guarantee these concepts will be on the test that you take, but they are key concepts to the workplace and are discussed in the literature. Today, we'll cover reusable textile packs. Some facilities are returning to reusable textile packs as a green project. If packs are prepared in the assembly area, there should be a separate enclosed space. Airflow should be downdraft type. The number of air exchanges per hour should be sufficient to minimize the lint particles in the air. Be sure to check your ANSI AAMI ST79 for specifics. They need sufficient space for clean textile storage, both before and after assembly into packs. And don't forget your illuminated inspection table to check for holes, rips, and tears, and also your patching equipment. For reusable textiles, there are strict packed construction criteria to ensure that the sterilization can take place. This speaks to their size, weight, and max density. Before being assembled into a pack, textiles should be inspected on a lighted work table for your holes and tears. Any holes found must be patched on both sides of the textile with heat seal patches. For additional information, see AAMI's recommended practices, reprocessing of reusable textiles in healthcare facilities, your ANSI AAMI ST65. That's going to wrap this week's mid-session confidence boost. Good luck. Thanks for joining us after the message from our sponsors and our mid-session confidence boost. Remember, if there is a concept, definition, or topic you'd like me to elaborate more on or discuss, please feel free to shoot Beyond Clean a message at info@beyondclean.net. It's important to me that I serve you in a way that you need most during this time of test prepping so that we're using your time the most effectively. Kind of like how we're going to use the percentages today. So, first we need to know where to go to receive such a list. The answer is right on your accrediting body's webpage because it's publicly listed. This isn't some backdoor file that is hosted that you need to go on the dark web to get, folks, okay? It's typically located right on your test's landing page or your registration page. This list is templated clearly and very easy to understand. The area of study is listed, and next to it is a percent. That percent represents how much of the exam will cover content relating to that area. Plain and simple. They even go as far to highlight concepts, processes, and subjects one should be able to speak to and answer questions about for the exam. It's as simple as taking the percentage from your total questions being asked on the test to determine how many questions there will be based on this area of study. So, for example, if area or section A is 10% of your test and your test is 100 questions, that means roughly 10 questions will be pertaining to section A. Now, with that being said, all the information they list under there could be those 10 questions. That doesn't mean there is a question for each of the areas highlighted. All right? That could mean the first bullet has 4 questions about it and the last bullet has the other 6. Okay? All it's saying is that there's going to be 10% of the test about this area of study. Okay? So now that we have this info, which was freely given to us by the web page, let's talk about how to incorporate this into our studies. First of all, don't rest on your laurels here. The document may outline the key topics, but some of those key topics are very in-depth. Okay, so even if you only see 4 or 5 things listed underneath it, it could be significant. One concept the document refers to may actually be 10 to 15 pages in your book. All right. So I don't want you to think that just because there's only a few bullets, you have to study less or you don't need to read the book. And I think that's where the conflicting opinion comes in, is that if you have this document and you incorporate it into your studies, that's where the lack of critical thinking and comprehension comes in, because you're only studying to answer those questions, right? You're only studying to pass the test. I get that, but that's not what's happening with these bullets. So I don't want you to think that just because there's only 3 or 4 bullets, you have to take the chapter or the section area any less seriously. Okay, because you need to be able to answer a variety of questions that speak to the robust understanding and comprehension you have cultivated while you were studying. Okay, so it may say, oh, you need to make sure that you know about the human body. The human body is huge. Like, do you know the anatomy of an inner ear? I don't remember the anatomy of an inner ear, and I work in an ortho facility, so I haven't seen an inner ear procedure in a very long time, okay? But at the time, I made sure I knew the inner workings of the ear, all right? I'm not saying there's going to be ear questions on your test. I don't write these tests. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to elaborate is the human body is a very broad topic. You got a lot to study in there, okay? So do yourself the favor and continue to give yourself the time you need to learn so that you don't result in a cram session that seldom leads to positive outcomes, okay? You can learn more about avoiding those cram sessions from one of our previous episodes that I have with our work BFF, Bobby Parker, okay? So just a few episodes back, we talk about what a cram session is and why they stink, okay? So what you can do is use this topic breakdown as a guide for where we need to spend more time understanding, comprehending, and learning. It may have been a chore getting through the sterilization chapter. Some of my students even wonder how they did it. Maybe you dozed off a couple of times, reread a paragraph over and over again by mistake, or maybe you just stopped in the middle of it and went to a different chapter because it was just way too much information. Right? Whatever efforts were set forth at that time can be reignited and redirected back to committing yourself to these areas because of this list. All right. It's nice to see even the broad topics that you need to spend more time on, and it makes that intense chapter just a little bit more consumable, dare I say. Then I want you to make sure that you apply your learning style to really get that information downloaded into the old brain banks, all right? Don't just go in there and start making lists and flashcards if that's not your preferred learning style and you're not going to remember any of it, okay? Remember, when we default to processes that don't work for us, it's because we're nervous, right? It's because we just want to make sure we get all the information. You are not studying to take a test. You are studying to be a sterile processing professional. That is profound, okay? That is a huge responsibility, 1. And 2, an amazing opportunity. And 3, frankly, it's a gift, okay? Being a sterile processing professional has been one of the most significant factors in my life up to this point. You know, I am proud to be in this industry because of the impact I have on patient safety. So do not study to pass a test, because patients are not tests. They are humans. They are somebody's, and you have to be ready to be part of heart of the hospital and be that pulse, because without you, we're nothing. And our patients need you. They don't need someone that just took a test. Okay. So your homework is going to be to go to these websites and get your test percentage document. Take a look at the breakdown of your exam and then use this information to your advantage. I felt encouraged when I first utilized this technique because it helped me feel more guided and allowed me to redirect my efforts. I didn't start using this until I had already failed my test a number of times. I don't know why. I just wasn't using it. Ego, pride. It could have been any of those things. I wasn't utilizing it. It helped me feel less anxious and more confident in all the areas I had studied. But whatever you do, don't use this as an excuse to think you can spend less time learning. You'll be in for a terrible shock that could have been avoided had the information been used the way we discussed today. I want to thank you all again for listening and hanging out with me. Next week, we are going to discuss the benefits of listening and audible learning with a special guest that you won't want to miss. All right, everybody, see you then. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. For more sterile processing education and resources, make sure to visit beyondclean.net or follow Beyond Clean on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to check out over 1,000 SPD-related videos at youtube.com/beyondclean. If you have any questions or comments for the show, you can reach out to info@beyondclean.net. Finally, make sure to download the Beyond Clean mobile app on the Apple and Android app stores so that you don't miss a future episode of any of the other awesome Beyond Clean podcasts. My name's Sarah B. Cruz, and you've been listening to Confidence Certification. Until next time, keep fighting dirty and pass that test with confidence.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast series are of Sarah B. Cruz only and do not represent the companies she works for or collaborates with.